Welcome back, dear students. Now, in this lecture, we are dealing with the chapter 3rd, single cell protein. In short, it is called as SCP, single cell protein. So, in this chapter, we are studying the importance of protein in daily diet. So, single cell protein, it is the protein obtained from any unicellular organism or any microorganism, that is called as the single cell protein. So, introduction. The reduced yield of pulses is the main reason for the deficiency of protein in daily diet. It is important to increase protein production by utilizing the available resources. As a result of this, the search for non-conventional protein sources to supplement the existing conventional ones is increasing. So the conventional sources of the protein comprises the pulses. The main reason for the deficiency of protein in the daily diet is the reduced yield of the pulses. So it becomes important to increase the protein production by utilizing the available resources. So as a result of this, there is a need to search for non-conventional protein sources to supplement the existing conventional ones. Importance of proteins in diet. So protein have prime importance in our daily diet. So the question may ask for give the importance of the protein in diet. The proteins are basic and primary biomolecules in structure and function of the cell. As you know that the primary cell wall, cell membrane, that has been made up of the protein. So proteins are the basic and primary biomolecules in structure and the function of the cell. The cell organelles and their membranes are made up of proteins and lipids, which gives structural fluidity and permeability. So the cell membrane, we also called it as the plasma membrane of the cell, and also the membrane of the cell organelles are made up of proteins and lipids. So these proteins gives structural fluidity and permeability. Permeability means the ability of the membrane to allow substances and the solvent to pass through it, that is called as the permeability. So the biomolecules that enters inside the cell and the cell organelles are regulated by their membrane, and the membranes are made up of proteins and lipids. All enzymes are proteinaceous in nature, and if the requirement of protein is not fulfilled, the biosynthesis of all enzymes involved in cellular metabolism will be retarded completely. So as you know that to perform various biochemical reactions, the enzymes are required in the cells, and these all enzymes are proteinaceous in nature. And if the requirement of the proteins is not fulfilled, then the biosynthesis of all enzymes involved in cellular metabolism will be retarded completely. Next importance is the proteins are basic and primary biomolecules in the structure and the function of the cell. The cell organelles that are made up of the proteins and lipids. All enzymes are proteinaceous in nature. Proteins are the building blocks of all living organisms and are highly essential for growth and development. So all living organisms are made up of the proteins. So proteins are the building blocks of the living organisms, and they are highly essential for growth and development of the organism. Proteins are polymers of amino acids. Proteins are made up of the amino acids, and it serves various functions and used for the development of cell and tissues. So proteins are required for the development of cell and tissues, and the proteins are made up of the amino acids which serves various functions. Proteins are oxidized to generate ATP in the cell. So as you know that the ATP is the energy rich molecule that are required for various cellular functions. So the energy rich molecule or the energy currency in the cell in the form of ATP has been generated from the proteins by its oxidation. So the proteins are oxidized to generate ATP in the cell. This clearly indicates the basic need of proteins for all living organisms, without which their growth, development and survival is not possible. So this is the importance of protein in the daily diet. The deficiency of proteins leads to stunted growth, weakened muscular and immunological functions. So the organism that having the deficiency leads to the stunted growth, means the growth has been retarded. In case of animals, there is a weakened muscular and immunological functions. Now, what is single cell protein? So, single cell protein, it is the any microbial biomass from unicellular and multicellular microorganisms like algae, bacteria, yeast, fungi, which can be used as food or food additives. So, single cell protein is a any microbial biomass. Microbial means that biomass has been made up of the microorganisms either of unicellular or multicellular. So the microorganisms like algae, bacteria, yeast, fungi can be used as food or food additives. So in single sentence we can define single cell protein as any microbial biomass from unicellular and multicellular algae, bacteria, yeast, fungi which can be used as food or feed additives. Now the source microorganisms. So the single cell protein that has been obtained from microbial biomass. So which are the microorganisms from which we can obtain the single cell proteins? These are the source microorganisms. So here the question may ask for give the names of microorganisms used in SCP production. So the first one microorganisms are the algae. So algae, for example, chlorella, Cnidesmus acuta, Spirulina maxima. So these are the algae which can be served as the source of the single cell protein production. Next is the bacteria. For example, Methylococcus capsulatus, Pseudomonas species, Acinetobacter, Achromobacter. So these are the examples of the bacteria which can be served as the source of protein for SCP production. Next is the fungi, that is the yeast such as Saccharomyces cerevisiae, Candida lipolytica, Candida utilis. So these are the yeast species that can be used for the production of SCP. So these are the microorganisms belong to the group algae, bacteria, yeast are used as a source microorganism for the production of SCP. Now here in detail we are going to study the production of SCP from these microorganisms, for example algae, fungi and bacteria. So the first point is the production of SCP from algae. Here we take the example of the spirulina. So spirulina act as a potential source of the SCP, that is the protein. So here we are going for the mass cultivation of the spirulina. So the question may ask for describe the mass cultivation of spirulina for SCP production. The spiral filaments of spirulina have air-filled vacuoles in their cells, so they float on the surface of water. So spirulina, it is the one of the blue-green algae. It having the spiral filaments. These spiral filaments of the spirulina have air-filled vacuoles, so they float on the surface of the water. Hence, the harvesting of the algal mats of spirulina from culture medium is easy as compared to the green algae such as chlorella and Cnidesmus species. In the previous slide, we seen the source microorganism. So the algae like spirulina, chlorella, Cnidesmus serve as a source microorganism for the production of SCP. So here we are studying the mass cultivation of the spirulina for SCP production. So the harvesting of the algal mats of spirulina from culture medium is easy as compared to the green algae such as chlorella and Cynodesmus species, because the spiral filaments of the spirulina have air-filled vacuoles in their cells, so they float on the surface of the water. The spirulina cells are able to fix the atmospheric nitrogen. After collecting them from culture medium, the algal mats are filtered and biomass is dried with hot air to obtain a fine powder of SCP. So the SCP has been grown on different media, and these spirulina cells are able to fix the atmospheric nitrogen. So they can be collected from the culture medium, and the algal mats are filtered and biomass is dried with the hot air to obtain a fine powder of SCP. So in detail we are going to study its cultivation. So here mass cultivation of spirulina for SCP production. So for the mass production of spirulina there are two systems. First one is the semi-natural lake system and the second one is the artificial system. So semi-natural lake system is the one of the natural system where the spirulina has been grown naturally. So here Sosa Texcoco Lake in Mexico and Lake Chand in Africa have provided an ideal environment for natural growth of spirulina. So these spirulina species are naturally grown in the lake of Mexico and Africa because these lakes provides an ideal environment for the natural growth of the spirulina. So SCP of spirulina from these lakes is excellent as fish food and animal food. It is not used for consumption to the human being. So these lakes produce the spirulina is an excellent as fish food and animal food. However, the production of SCP of spirulina from these lakes is expensive and is of low quality owing to contamination and pollution by the natural factors. So here we are using the semi-natural lake system. So the contamination, pollution, this is occur due to some natural factors. So due to this, the production of SCP of spirulina from these lakes is expensive and is of low quality. Continue to this point. Second is the artificially built cultivation system. So here in the previous slide we studied the semi-natural lake system. Now we are here going to artificially build the cultivation system. So this is the second one type of the system used for the mass cultivation of spirulina for SCP production. So the second one system is the artificially built cultivation system. So on the basis of quality of water and available nutrients, it can be further divided into two types. So this artificially built cultivation system is divided into two types on the basis of quality of water and available nutrients. So the first one type is a clean water system. Here the quality of water, it is a clean water, and the second is the wastewater system. So the first one is the clean water system. In this system, artificial shallow ponds are constructed with clean water containing spirulina. Here we are discussing the artificially built cultivation system. So for this, artificial shallow ponds are constructed with clean water containing spirulina. The shallow ponds are provided with high quality nutrients and water in the ponds and is circulated with paddle wheels. The initial pH of the pond water is maintained to 8.5. Addition of sodium nitrate and sodium bicarbonate to the ponds shifted the pH of water to alkaline, which favors the rapid growth of the spirulina. So here the artificial shallow ponds are constructed that has been contain the clean water. So the spirulina has been grown in such artificial shallow plant that contain clean water. These shallow ponds are provided with high quality nutrients and water in the pond. The water is circulated with paddle wheels. the initial pH of the pond water is maintained to 8.5, that is the alkaline pH. Furthermore, the pH of water which is maintained to alkaline with the addition of sodium nitrate and sodium bicarbonate, which favors the rapid growth of the spirulina. Subsequently, the growth of the algae increases the pH of the pond water to about 10 to 10.5. As the growth of the spirulina occurred on the clean water, it increases the pH of the pond water to 10 to 10.5. At this alkaline pH, there is less chance of contamination of ponds with other microorganisms. So this alkaline condition in the pond water favors the growth of the spirulina, and at the same time there is less chance of contamination of pond with other microorganisms. In India, food grade spirulina is cultivated in two main centers, namely MCRC Chennai and CFTRI Mysore. So this is about the clean water system. Now we are going for wastewater system. So this is another one type for artificially built cultivation system, where the quality of water, it is the wastewater. In high populated countries including India, the large quantity of waste produce can be used for the production of SCP. So in this system, the ponds are artificially constructed. The waste such as human, animal waste and domestic sewage are added to these digestive ponds, and these are left undisturbed for the solid particles to settle down. So here in this type of cultivation system, the wastewater that has been released from the municipal waste such as human, animal waste, domestic sewage are added to these artificially constructed digestive ponds. These are left undisturbed for the solid particles to settle down. The sewage water is added to digestive ponds as the source of nutrients for the growth of spirulina. Sodium nitrate, sodium bicarbonate are mixed in the ponds to maintain alkaline pH. Here also there is a need to maintain the alkaline pH by the addition of or by mixing sodium nitrate and sodium bicarbonate. After full growth of spirulina, it is screened and harvested from the ponds and then added to aquaculture as fish food. So here the wastewater system has been used for the production of spirulina, and that spirulina powder is added to the aquaculture as fish food. So this spirulina is grown for fish food. So after the full growth of the spirulina, it has been harvested from the ponds and then added to aquaculture as fish food. Now the growth requirements of spirulina. So the question may ask about explain the growth requirements of the spirulina cultivation. The first one is the algal tanks. So here we are studying the artificially built cultivation system. So for that the algal tanks needs to be constructed. So circular or rectangular cement tanks are constructed for the cultivation of spirulina. The circular tanks are easier for handling and the size of the tank depends on the yield required. So here the circular or rectangular cement tanks are constructed. The circular tanks are easier for handling and the size of the tank depends on the yield required. So how much amount of spirulina we required, so that is the yield. So on the basis of which the size of the tank has been depends. Second is the light. Low light intensity is required at the beginning to avoid damage to spirulina filaments. So the circular or rectangular cement tanks are constructed in the open field. So the natural sunlight has been used for the growth of the spirulina filaments. So at the initial stage, at the beginning, the low light intensity is required because it avoids the damage to spirulina filament. Next is the temperature. The optimum temperature is 35 to 40 degrees Celsius. 35 to 40 degrees Celsius temperature needs for the growth of the spirulina. So here 35 to 40 degrees Celsius temperature has been required for the growth of the spirulina, or one can say it is the optimum temperature. Okay. Next to this is the pH. Initially, the pH of culture medium should be maintained at 8.5. So that we also seen previously. At the initial stage, the pH of the culture medium should be maintained at 8.5. Later, as the growth of the algae has been takes place, it increases the pH up to 10.5. So alkaline pH has to be maintained for the luxurious growth of the spirulina. Next is the agitation, means the mixing. The agitation of culture medium is done with paddle wheels. So mixing of culture medium has been carried out with the paddle wheels and is required for the proper mixing of the nutrients. So for the mixing of the nutrients, the culture medium has been agitated with the paddle wheels. Next, this is the harvesting. The spirulina filaments form thick mat on the water surface. They are float on the water surface because the spirulina cells possesses air-filled vacuole. So it becomes easy for harvesting of the spirulina. The spirulina filaments form thick mat on the water surface, is harvested by using a fine mesh. Next to this is the drying. Drying in sunlight is suitable and economical as the cells of spirulina have thin cell wall. So the drying becomes easy because its cell wall is thin. So drying in sunlight is suitable and economical. Next to this is the yield. The average yield is 10 to 12 gram spirulina powder per meter square per day. Here, avoiding the contamination. So the contamination can occur in this cultivation system. So to avoid contamination, it is essential to maintain alkaline pH of the tanks to prevent contamination by other microorganisms. So contaminations are the unwanted growth that occur by the other microorganisms. We are here growing spirulina. So other than spirulina, when grown in such cultivation system, that we call it as a contamination. So it is essential to maintain the alkaline pH of the tanks to prevent contamination by other microorganisms. So this is all about the growth requirements of the spirulina. Now the constituents of dried powder of spirulina. So dried powder of the spirulina consists of various major constituents and minor constituents. So the major constituents are total protein 64.6%, fats 6.7%, crude fiber 9.3%, carbohydrates 16.1%. Some minor constituents like vitamins, essential amino acids, mineral elements, vitamins like beta carotene, biotin, cyanocobalamin, it is also called as vitamin B12, folic acid, riboflavin, thiamine, tocopherol. So these are the various vitamins present in the dried powder of the spirulina. Some essential amino acids like lysine, cysteine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine. So these are the essential amino acid found in the dried powder of spirulina as the minor constituents. Next is the mineral elements. So various minerals like calcium, phosphorus, iron, sodium, potassium are also present in the dried powder of spirulina. So these are the constituents of dried powder of spirulina. These various constituents we divided into two types: major constituents and minor constituents. Major constituents comprises total proteins, fat, crude fibers and carbohydrates. Here the spirulina has been used as a rich source of the protein. Here we see the total protein amount 64.6% protein has been present in the dried powder of the spirulina. In addition to this, it possesses vitamins, essential amino acids, mineral elements as major constituents. So this is all about the production of SCP from algae. Here the example is the spiral. So the next point is the production of SCP from fungi. That is the yeast. We will study in the next lecture. Okay. Thank you. Stay home. Be safe.